Welcome to the world of Joan, this live prepper here. And today I want to talk about a little something that, I was just thinking about how preppers hide who we are. I turn around, I've got this little part-time job at this restaurant, and I tell them that I want the jugs to put rainwater in because I give my animals rainwater and I wash my clothes in rainwater and I put it for my plants. But I don't tell them the whole story behind it. I don't tell them that the reason I also collect the rainwater is because what if something happens? What if the water gets poisoned in the area and I need water? I can filter this rainwater out. How long will this water last me? I think about every jug I get I can take a jug of water and I can wash my clothes with it. I can wash me up with it. I can wash my dishes up with it. And then I can use it to flush my toilet with after I'm done with everything. So that's an option. So, preppers look at things just different. We look outside the box. We see things different and everything. I mean, even watching a TV show, we look at things like, oh my goodness, get real, But the thing is that people just not aware of it. And I did a video on the clay flower pots, and I'll show you. I am using it. As you can see right there, it is being used. And I can tell the difference. And I went and priced up a bunch of the little tea candles. I found that really you need to put them in a holders better. And because I tried them without the holders and it don't burn as long. But you know what? I didn't waste my wax. I put it up. It's melted. I will recycle it. And I will make holders for, my flower pot. And I can go pick up a bunch of those little tea candles. And I find with the tea candles, it burns about a couple hours, 2 or 3 hours. So that's just what I'm saying is I don't go to work and talk too much about all this prepping I do. Now I talk about the herbs and stuff I harvest and making my own herb tea and things like that. And I go out there and I was talking to my mom and I was telling her about the clovers that taste like lemon. I said, the yellow clovers that blooms and then she goes, yeah. I said, they have a lemon taste. I said, I know my neighbors think I'm crazy because I'm going out there trying clovers looking for the lemon taste because I was making me up some herb tea. Because I feel a little crappy sometimes, I just feel a little run down or whatever. So I take a combination of herbs that I've collected and I make me this combination herbal tea that I'll drink and I'll take to work with me tomorrow and I'll sip on it. So, it's Mother Nature's medicine. So, I can talk about herbs and stuff around people. They don't think much of it. But if you get talking about, well, what if this happens and you have no power? What if this happens and your water is poisoned? What if this happens that food runs out? We don't really talk about that much to people because you know why? They look at us like we're crazy. And another thing, the reason we don't talk a whole lot about it, we talk about it some on YouTube. We talk about it among each other and stuff. But we don't sit there and tell them everything because we don't want them knocking at our door. If we put up stuff and we save stuff or whatever, I put up a few things, that I put up here and there and some containers and stuff and oats and dry beans and things like that. And as bad as I would hate it, I'm not going to give my food away to people because once I start giving it to them, then they're going to be back knocking on the door again. And what's going to stop them from breaking into the house and taking every little bit of what I have? So, I have to think outside the box like, okay, now, what am I going to do? Now, as a community, if you work together, that's great. If you're willing to work as a community, as a neighborhood, and put your food in together and everything, that is something that's wonderful. If you're willing to work together and share crop and everything, that's wonderful. But as a basic prepper, we don't talk a whole lot out in public. We don't realize how many people around us thinks like that. We really don't. The problem is that the percentage is not large enough. We need a much larger. Preppers hide who they are because we have to. The ones that's more public opinions, the ones that you've seen on these Days Prepper shows, the ones you've seen on the talk shows and stuff, they're more open about their prepping and stuff, and that's fine. But also, some of them has a great deal of backlash when they went and they talked about it on what they did, about the solar power and the wind power, and not to be having any use for any of the other stuff. So that's why most preppers just really keep things on low key. I tell people I'm all about back to nature and all this stuff, But you know what? I think every day, what am I going to do? Making these flower clay pots and stocking up on candles and stuff and picking up things. I'm going to stay warm. If SHTF happens, this here keep me warm. I can put myself in a room with 2 or 3 other people. You know, it won't be the best in the world, but you know what? We'll stay warm. We can turn around and heat our own food up. We can use the candles to cook with and stuff to heat our soups and things up. We can recycle whatever you got. But the thing is that we're scared to talk much about it. We're scared to talk much about it out in public because of the backlash that so many of these preppers and stuff have given people. And if some of them are good people, don't get me wrong, but some of them just, really, when they're talking about one of the doomsday preppers, one of them sitting there talking about making handmade bombs. Well, that's illegal. So he's showing this here. Do you know that he's got backlash? He's going to hit him. He went public about this. Don't go public about something like that. If you're doing something to defend yourself, don't go public about it. Be quiet about that. It's one thing to talk about nature. It's one thing talking about putting up food. And one thing talking about preparing yourself. But basically, as a prepper, we have to keep things on low key. We can't sit there and say, hey, you know what? I'm making handmade bombs. I've got a book on this here. Because you know what? They're going to be knocking at your door. And I sure don't know how to make a bomb. I have no idea what. I mean, that's not my whole purpose. And my purpose is just getting from one day to the next. I'm thinking about 6 months down the road. I'm not thinking 5 years down the road right now. I'm taking 6 months at a time. I'm using my knowledge. I'm teaching myself. I'm learning myself. But at the same time, I'm scared to tell people much about what I do. I'm scared to say, you know what? I've got, 30 bags of oats put up. I've gotten 6 bags of rice put up for myself. I've gotten, I don't sit there and talk like that. I don't tell these people this stuff because I'm afraid to tell these people. And one thing is, if they know you do the prepping and I'll say the SHTF happens, they're going to be at your doorstep. So, we, as a prepper, we have to be careful what we say. Preppers don't let people know they are preppers. And there's a reason for it. And I'm sure not going to let them know that I've got this little bit of food put up and dry beans put up. I play it all on low key. Just this good old country girl, okay, I need the buckets here. I'm putting some dry beans up, when I'm putting some rice up and stuff. But every time I step in the store, I think about, well, what if? And if I catch it on sale, then I'll stock up on it, Well, this here is a dehydrated chicken noodle soup that I picked up. I picked up the little 2-pack. So that was 89 cents a box. I bought 5 of them. That's 10 of them there. Add some water to it. I'm thinking about how I have to filter my own rainwater and stuff. Things I will have to do, the iodine. So we think about all of this stuff. But preppers keep low key. We don't talk about out in public about to people. Most people, we just don't talk to them. We can't. We cannot really go public very much. We can talk among each other, but we cannot go public too much because people think you're crazy. And another thing, we don't know what's going to happen one day to the next. So hopefully that our knowledge will go into a community effect and we can benefit helping each other. Hopefully we can get through one day to the next, but we have to figure out what to do. And we cannot go public and say we're preppers. Not in a way that like you doomsday shows and all this other stuff. It's one thing to talk about some of the stuff, but we still have to keep low key. We don't need to sit there and tell these people that we've got guns or knives or whatever it is. And I don't have a gun. I have knives. I have knowledge. I have this to survive on. So we as preppers have to keep things on low key. We can only talk so much about stuff. We just can't tell people, why, we just play it off, say, hey, because they don't need to know. They don't need to know that we're thinking outside the box, like what if happens. Because I'm going to tell you what, this little heater that I've made, it's not cold, probably about 50 something, but it's a little chilly, a little nippy in here, so I got it on, and I can tell the difference from walking from this room into the other rooms, the difference in the temperature. Now, how many people in an SHTF situation who depends on electricity and depends on the gas or whatever it is. If there's no gas, there's no electricity. If you run out of fuel, how are they going to survive? This here is going to keep me going. I mean, once I say, I have to think outside that box. I have to think about how I'm going to stay warm, how I'm going to feed myself, how am I going to have water. So I recycle. I believe in recyclers, but preppers have to be careful what they say to people, because so many out there are going to come and take what you've got. The government's going to come after your guns, when things happen. They're going to confiscate your food. Martial law says they can come and take your guns, they can confiscate your food, they can take all this. So we've got to be as careful as we can be. And if we're thinking outside the box, we're thinking how to put things up. Fortunately for me, most people just think of me as somebody gets out in nature, I'm doing my herbs. They don't think much about it. But you know what? I'm still thinking outside the box and what if. I'm thinking about putting up this and putting up that and keeping warm. So preppers have to keep low profile. Preppers have to keep secret. Because if we tell everybody what we do, we put ourselves in danger. When the governments and everywhere else knows, we talk about it on the TVs, we talk about it on Facebook, we talk about it on our YouTube, but we still got to be careful. There's only so much you need to tell them. You don't need to tell them everything. You don't need to talk about everything. You don't need to talk about how many this you got or what you're going to do. It's fine to talk about some things, but some things we've got to keep quiet. We can't sit there and show everything we do, because that government's going to be knocking at your door. They know you've got that 5,000 round ammunition. They know you've got 40 guns. They know you've got food. And if you let people around you know that you put up all this stuff and that you're a prepper, they're going to be at your door. So preppers have to keep themselves a secret. We have to stay low profile, because if we don't, we're putting ourselves in danger. There's a limit on how much we should tell people about what we do. There's a limit on how much they need to know. They don't even know why I save the water. I just tell them for plants. But the thing is, I keep building up jugs. Every time it rains, I'm filling up the water. I'm trying to make sure I'm taken care of. I put a little bit of food away at a time. I harvest my herbs and stuff and dry them so I can have medicines for me in case I feel crappy or whatever. So, like I said, the heater here that I built, every day is a learning factor. We as preppers got to be responsible for ourselves, and we're going to almost have to be responsible for people around us too. So if you choose to do a community thing and you make a choice, whether you want to help friends or family or children, because you know what, in an SHTF situation, you find children out there, it's going to break your heart. But you got to be careful again, because children can be used as bait. So we have to think on all this. What we're going to do, how we're going to survive. So preppers, be careful. Don't let them know too much about what you do. And just be careful what you say around people, because your best friend can turn on you. Your neighbor can turn on you when it comes to feeding their family or themselves. And those who are brave, and those who are true cowards that will cut your throat, that you thought was your best friend or your brother or whatever, or your cousin or whatever, you have to be careful. So, this is Live Prepper, Warla Joan. Be safe, be happy. Bless you all.